Let's start our first news with a story that could potentially create huge headlines in the MMA world. Islam Makhachev has revealed that a boxing match with Conor is still a possibility, and the way this conversation came together is certainly interesting. Islam recently spoke about the situation and explained that he had a conversation surrounding a potential boxing matchup with Conor. According to Islam, the idea came up while he was attending a boxing event with Turkish boxer and trainer Turki Al-Sheikh. During the event, Al-Sheikh reportedly called Conor and asked him whether he would be interested in boxing Islam. And according to Islam, Conor's response was very straightforward. He was down for it. Islam explained that he told Al-Sheikh to ask Dana White about the potential fight, especially because Dana was nearby at the time. Instead of giving a serious response, Dana reportedly laughed at the idea. But that did not stop Islam from discussing the possibility. Islam explained that he and Conor could not really have a proper conversation during the moment. However, he noticed Conor's body language, which seemed to suggest that the Irish superstar was at least open to the idea. For Islam, the matchup would also represent something different from his usual UFC career. He admitted that he is not considered an elite-level boxer, but he believes he could still hold his own against other fighters in a boxing environment. That is what makes this potential matchup so fascinating. Islam and Conor already have history because of the massive rivalry between Conor and Islam's former teammate, Khabib. Their names have been connected for years, and now Islam is suggesting that there could still be a new story between them inside a boxing ring. Of course, there is a major obstacle standing in the way: Dana White. Even though the conversation happened around a boxing event, any realistic possibility of Islam competing against Conor would likely require serious negotiations and approval from the UFC side. Dana's laughter does not necessarily mean the idea is completely impossible, but it certainly shows that nothing is close to being finalized. Still, the fact that Conor was reportedly asked directly about boxing Islam and apparently showed interest is enough to keep the possibility alive. For now, there is no official fight announcement, no confirmed date, and no finalized agreement. But Islam has made one thing clear: the door is not closed. And if this matchup ever becomes real, it would bring together two of the biggest names connected to one of the most memorable rivalries in modern MMA, this time under boxing rules. Move on to another news, and this time, Islam Makhachev is making a very interesting suggestion for Usman Nurmagomedov's UFC debut. Islam believes Usman could enter the UFC at the highest level immediately, potentially facing Justin Gaethje for the lightweight title, or even taking on Arman in a fight that could determine the next #1 contender. When Islam was asked about the possibility of Usman fighting Justin, he made it clear that he has enormous confidence in his longtime teammate. Islam explained that Usman has been training with him, Khabib, and their teammates since he was a very young fighter. Because of that, Islam believes he knows exactly what Usman is capable of inside the cage. According to Islam, Usman is already ready for the biggest challenges the UFC can offer. He believes Usman could fight for a championship tomorrow, or step into a contender matchup tomorrow, and still be fully prepared for the level of competition. That confidence comes from Usman's well-rounded skill set. Islam highlighted Usman's wrestling, describing it as one of his biggest strengths. But he also pointed toward Usman's physical strength, striking, and grappling ability, making it clear that he does not see any major weakness preventing him from competing against elite UFC fighters. Islam also praised Usman's recent work outside the UFC, saying he has done an excellent job in the PFL. After building his experience there and continuing to develop alongside some of the best fighters in the world, Islam believes Usman is now ready to prove himself on the UFC stage. A debut against Justin Gaethje would obviously be an enormous challenge, especially if a title were on the line. Meanwhile, facing Arman in a #1 contender fight would immediately place Usman near the top of the lightweight division. Either way, Islam's message is clear. He believes Usman does not need a slow introduction to the UFC. In his eyes, Usman has already done the work, developed the skills, and gained the experience necessary to compete with the division's elite fighters from day one. Move on to another news, And this time, Garry is sending a very confident message about Islam Makhachev. Garry made it clear that he has enormous respect for Islam and everything he has accomplished throughout his career. He described Islam as a generational talent, someone who has earned his reputation through years of hard work, both inside the gym and inside the octagon. According to Garry, Islam's resume speaks for itself. The victories, the finishes, and the high-level performances have established Islam as one of the most impressive fighters competing today. Garry openly acknowledged that whenever Islam steps into the octagon, he is capable of performing at an elite level. But despite all that respect, Garry believes it is his job to do something very different. He wants to use Islam as an example. Garry explained that if people currently believe Islam is the greatest fighter on the planet, and if they consider him the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, then defeating him would send a powerful message to everyone watching. In other words, Garry believes the bigger Islam's reputation becomes, the bigger the impact would be if he manages to beat him. That is the mindset Garry is bringing into the potential matchup. Rather than dismissing Islam's accomplishments or pretending that he is an easy opponent, Garry is doing the opposite. He is giving Islam enormous credit while making it clear that he wants to defeat one of the most respected fighters in the sport. For Garry, the goal is not simply another victory on his record. He wants the energy surrounding Islam to transfer to him. If Islam is currently viewed as the best fighter in the world, then beating him could completely change Garry's position in the UFC. It could turn him from a highly regarded contender into one of the biggest names in the entire division. That is why Garry's comments carry so much confidence. He understands exactly what Islam represents, he respects what Islam has achieved, and he knows the challenge waiting for him. But instead of backing away from it, Garry wants to make Islam the biggest example of what happens when he reaches the top. Move on to another news, and this time, Jon Jones has sparked a huge reaction after revealing the 2 legendary fighters he would remove from an MMA GOAT list. The discussion started after MMA Sapiens shared a graphic on Instagram featuring a collection of some of the biggest names in MMA history. The graphic was titled The GOAT Club, and it included an incredible lineup of champions and legends from different generations. Among the names featured were Jon Jones, Anderson Silva, Daniel Cormier, Khabib, Islam Makhachev, George St. Pierre, Conor, Ilya, Alexander Volkanovski, and Demetrius Johnson. It was essentially a list packed with fighters who have made a massive impact on the sport. But the interesting part came from the question attached to the post. The caption asked fans to choose 2 fighters they would remove from the GOAT Club. That immediately opened the door for plenty of debate, because every fighter on the graphic has a strong argument for being considered one of the greatest ever. Then Jon Jones himself joined the conversation. Jones left a comment revealing exactly who he would remove from the list. His answer was simple: Conor and Khabib. And he added a short message along the lines of, "Sorry guys." That comment is especially interesting because both fighters have enormous legacies. Conor became one of the biggest stars MMA has ever produced. He captured UFC titles in 2 weight classes and became one of the sport's most recognizable figures. His impact on MMA went far beyond his performances inside the octagon. Khabib, meanwhile, built one of the most dominant records in UFC history. He retired undefeated and left the sport as a former lightweight champion, with his undefeated record becoming one of the biggest arguments in discussions about the greatest fighters of all time. So seeing Jones leave both names out of his personal GOAT Club naturally created attention. Of course, Jones's comment is simply his personal opinion, and it does not erase what either fighter accomplished. The GOAT debate has never had one universal answer. Different fans value different things, including dominance, championship success, longevity, level of competition, influence, and undefeated records. Jones himself has been at the center of those discussions for years, and his decision to remove Conor and Khabib adds another interesting chapter to the never-ending MMA GOAT debate. One short comment was enough to get fans talking, because when Jon Jones chooses 2 legends to leave out of the GOAT Club, people are guaranteed to have something to say. Move on to another news, and this time, Joe Rogan has suggested that Islam Makhachev could potentially retire if he defeats Ian Garry this weekend. During a recent discussion, Rogan explained that he could actually see Islam walking away from competition after another major victory. Rogan pointed out that Islam has already accomplished an enormous amount in his career. He has competed across 2 different weight classes and captured world championships in both divisions, putting him in an incredibly rare position. According to Rogan, if Islam beats Ian, especially if he manages to submit him, he could simply decide that he has done enough. Rogan even compared the possibility to what Khabib did when he retired from competition and moved toward coaching. He suggested that Islam could potentially say he has had enough, step away from fighting, and begin focusing more heavily on coaching. Rogan also mentioned that this could open the door for another contender to fight for the undisputed title. However, there was one major problem with Rogan's prediction. Islam himself has repeatedly stated this week that he has no plans to retire after the fight. Following Rogan's comments, fans quickly pointed out that Islam has already addressed the retirement rumors. In an interview with TMZ, Islam made his position very clear. He explained that he still wants to be a UFC champion and that his journey is not finished. Islam also said that retirement is not simply about numbers or age. For him, it comes down to his health, how he feels physically, and whether he still enjoys competing. And right now, Islam says he feels great. He has no major injuries, still enjoys the sport, and remains motivated to continue fighting. Islam even made it clear that fans should expect to see him competing many more times. So, while Joe Rogan can imagine a scenario where Islam retires after beating Ian Garry, Islam's own words suggest something very different. For now, his message is straightforward. The journey continues, and he expects to fight again. Move on to another news, and this time, Sean O'Malley has reacted to some of Ian Garry's recent interview moments that have been getting fans talking online. A YouTube video featured reactions to several clips from Garry, including comments that quickly attracted attention and criticism across social media. One of the moments involved Garry discussing the idea of fans waking up extremely early in Europe and around the world to watch certain UFC fighters compete. That immediately caught Sean's attention. Sean reacted with disbelief, questioning the idea that people would wake up at 5 in the morning just to watch a particular matchup. He then joked about Garry facing a tall and lengthy opponent, before the conversation took an even more unexpected turn. Another clip focused on Garry talking about his wife and suggesting that people should listen to her perspective. Garry then made a broader comment about what the world might look like if it were run by women. That statement made Sean pause. He immediately wanted to hear the comment again, almost as if he needed to make sure he had understood Garry correctly. Sean replayed the moment and reacted to the idea that the world would supposedly be better if women were running everything. His response was blunt and humorous. Sean said he would not let his wife run the world. Then, in classic Sean fashion, he took the joke in another direction, suggesting that if he were the one running the world, he would absolutely crush it. The discussion then moved toward another unusual comment from Garry, including a statement about the future being powered by plants. Sean listened to the different clips, clearly trying to process the combination of comments and ideas coming from Garry. By the end of the reaction, Sean admitted that hearing some of these statements had actually influenced how he was thinking about the upcoming fight. The comments may have been delivered casually, but Sean's reaction showed that Garry's interviews are getting plenty of attention. Whether fans agree with Garry or not, one thing is clear. His personality and outspoken interviews continue to generate strong reactions, even from other UFC fighters. Move on to another news, and this time, Islam Makhachev is questioning why Michael Morales is waiting around instead of getting back inside the octagon. Morales has made a major commitment this week by cutting a significant amount of weight to serve as the backup fighter for Islam's upcoming main event. But according to Islam, there is one thing he does not understand. Why is Morales not fighting? Before Islam's matchup with Ian Garry was officially announced, Morales had been teasing the possibility of receiving the next title opportunity. However, that opportunity never materialized, and Morales ultimately chose to remain ready as the backup fighter for this weekend's event. While that may seem like a smart move, Islam believes Morales needs to stay active. Morales is one of the top contenders in the division, but he has not competed recently. There was even speculation about a potential matchup with Shavkat Rakhmonov after Morales appeared to tease the possibility online. However, there is still uncertainty surrounding when Rakhmonov will return. That leaves Morales waiting, while other contenders continue to build momentum. Islam specifically pointed out that Carlos Protes remains active and continues to fight, which could give him an advantage in the race toward another title opportunity. During Media Day, Islam was asked about Morales and his chances of eventually fighting for the championship. Islam acknowledged that Morales is definitely a good contender and one of the fighters near the top of the division. But he also made his position clear. Morales needs to earn his opportunity. Islam explained that he does not understand why Morales is not fighting, especially when other contenders are staying active and putting their names forward with performances inside the octagon. Islam also made it clear that he is not worried about who comes next after his fight with Garry. Whether it is Prates or Morales, Islam believes both are potential opponents. But before either fighter gets that opportunity, they need to keep competing, stay active, and continue proving themselves. For now, Islam's message is simple. Being a top contender is important, but staying active could be just as important when the title picture begins to move.